Today's episode is brought to you by The Caller is in the House. The Caller is in the House is a record label based out of Akron, Ohio. They mostly focus on releasing tapes, but have done flexies as well. Caller tries to put out music for hardcore, punk, and screamo bands, but will listen to any submission for any other niche subgenre. They're on Bandcamp at tciitchrecords.bandcamp.com and Instagram at tciitchrecords. You can email Caller at tciitchrecords@gmail.com with any questions or band submissions. Hello, and welcome to Everything Remade, a podcast that I hope is about growth as much as it is about music. I'm Edie Quinn, and we have a great show lined up for you today. Before we get started, though, I'd like to remind you about our Patreon page at patreon.com/humanmachine, where you can go to sign up, to read zines, get music sneak peeks, support the show, and so much more. That's patreon.com/humanmachine. And now, I'd like to play something for you. You're hearing Breathing In, Bleeding Out by I Used to Dream in Colors, featuring my new pal Kiki on vocals. The song comes from their debut EP, which isn't set to release until next month.
I think it was like the first thing that comes to my mind because I grew up with it on MTV. Madonna. Was it Hung Up? Was that the name from the song? Or
How did it go?
1 second. Was it Madonna? Hung Up, yeah, it was the one where she's like in the video, like dancing in like a suit with like other women and stuff. And it's like a swimming suit or something, I guess. But what did it sound like?
That kind of sounds like Material Girl, maybe.
Material Girl?
I don't know. I don't know. Hung Up.
Oh, it's been such a long time.
Was it like you're living in a material world and I'm a material girl?
Oh, yeah, that was it.
Okay. Yeah. That's wild. Like, that makes sense that would be like an earliest memory because you have like the visual aspect along with the musical aspect. So it would definitely like sort of that dual retention would be there. Because like I've asked this question a lot, and like I think it's important that like it's like it doesn't matter if like obviously like we who can say like what the real first song we heard or whatever was, but like it's like, and maybe it even changes sometimes, like where you like later you'll be like, wait, what about this one? Maybe that was it, or whatever. But like,
Yeah.
I think like the first music that I can ever remember hearing was from that movie Jailhouse Rock with Elvis, because
Oh,
like
okay.
my grandma used to watch that all the time, and my mom used to watch
Oh,
it all the time.
yeah,
And
that's
so
sweet.
that's, yeah, and so it makes sense that like it's not just there's a visual element to that too. Like it's dual, like searing these memories into our brain or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did like was your upbringing like, were you always like around music? Were your parents or your siblings like very musical?
Pretty much. My mom used to always use the TV with like MTV and Viva and stuff, those music channels.
Uh huh.
Was always something playing. And but yeah, funny though, she used to listen to a lot of hip hop and R&B actually. So that was quite nice to like listen to Beyonce and
Mm.
stuff. uh
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, so we listened to a lot of music, and as soon as my stepdad came into the family, he brought all of his CDs with like Dream Theater and stuff, and Metallica and stuff like that. So it was kind of a mix in between the both of them, because my mom used to listen to R&B and hip hop and stuff, and he used to listen to um, metal, heavy metal and stuff.
Uh huh.
Kind of fun.
Did Was that something that interested you right away? Like, where you were mostly used to hearing this other thing, and then like, yeah, oh, here's Metallica.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course. When I then got my first acoustic guitar, I already started and tried to play Metallica, which was not the best decision I made because it's fucking hard to play, especially on an acoustic guitar.
Yeah,
But it was quite funny. And then because it was so challenging, I just stopped because I felt like I cannot do that.
yeah,
But maybe my song choice wasn't the best. So
yeah.
yeah.
That was gonna be my next thing. Is like, like, did you find that entryway into like playing guitar like to be overwhelming? Because yeah, I think with me it was like Ramones and stuff, so that's a bit like, that's a bit easier. And then later I would like, okay, I know like a riff from Master of Puppets, or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
but just jumping right into Metallica could be for sure. I mean, there's like I'm not bad at guitar, but there's a limit to like what I could play from Metallica song, even like now, all these years later.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
so you had an acoustic guitar, like, and like what were you, when you got an acoustic, what was what was the mindset that you were in, like just like for fun, or were you already like, I I want to learn how to play this and be in a band and stuff like that?
Yeah, no, no. To be honest, I just wanted to try it out because my stepdad also had an acoustic guitar, and I always found it very comforting to watch him play guitar. And then when I got mine, I was about 19, so very late actually. And I just tried it out with like self-teaching kind of, and just getting an app, or yeah, mostly just watching YouTube videos where they try to teach me nothing else matters, where the beginning is very funny, but then when it goes more into the song, it's kind of tough when you have to teach it yourself, especially with that song. So um, yeah, I didn't have the mindset of want to play in a band. It was more like a hyper focus probably from my ADHD, and then being into it for like 3 weeks straight, and then just giving up. But I mean, I still like sometimes every now and then I feel like, oh, I could play guitar, and then I sit down, watch some YouTube videos, try and learn something easy. um, but it just is not like a constant thing, though. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, what you're saying about like comfort really like hit for me because like that's something that like an acoustic guitar where that's different. Like I think that being like I can play a few instruments and there's something like very specific and special that I get from like every single thing. And you hit the nail on the head when you said comfort as far as an acoustic, because like I and this isn't like a death clock like grandpa's guitars like kind of like thing or anything, but like
Yeah.
I don't just pick up my electric guitar and play for fun
Mm.
as much as I will the acoustic. Like the acoustic, I just will pick it up with
Yeah.
no intention to do anything other than
Yeah.
just like it's like it's like there's no goal in mind, or there's no
Yeah.
like thing that I'm trying to specifically create. It feels more recreational and like
Yeah. Yeah.
soothing in
Absolutely.
a way that's like sure I bet that the sound that it makes as opposed to an electric, for sure that's a factor in like that like soothing quality or whatever, but like just the whole like oh just like I'm gonna pick this up for a half an hour with like no
Yeah.
intentions, and then I don't know, like I think it says something about the way that we create art, like whether it's music or whatever, like that, like when we approach it with no goal in mind, it turns out
Yeah.
different than when we have to get something done. Because like I will write a song, like I'll just pick up an acoustic and I'll just be screwing around, and then I'm like, wait, I actually like that, and maybe I'll record it on
Yeah.
my phone or something. But I don't know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So like as far as like where you're at now, like you did like end up joining a band, and you said like getting an acoustic and playing like and stuff like that wasn't ever like I'm doing this to be in a band. So like what was it specifically, like if you can remember, that that put you from a point of where you have been a fan of music, and been into music, to where you're like, I want to do this like for myself.
Mm.
Like, was there a sort of a catalyzing moment for you?
Mm, so I think I've never really thought about making music myself, I think, in like a serious way, because it felt very far away. I'm like coming from a small village with not that much of seen kids or people, and there wasn't really the option to like start a project with like other people and stuff. And the thought of maybe joining or starting a band or a project like that came very late. Like, I think it was maybe 2 years ago or something, when I started going to proper shows like DIY, and get to know some people that also was into bands or already had like projects and stuff. And just by, I would say, the connection to other people and talking with them, seeing like, hey, you don't like need that much of, I don't know, professionality to do something in the way of DIY. And yeah, I feel like that was kind of the way, seeing, oh, it doesn't need like a, for example, big label or proper rehearsal room with like a lot of stuff in it, which is expensive. You can just go into like a room with three others and just trying to do something, you know. And that was kind of the moment where I realized, oh, fuck, actually, I would like to do that. And yeah, that was kind of the way I got into that. Um, yeah.
Yeah. How did you start meeting people like to where you ended up at like DIY shows?
Where I met them, you mean?
Yeah, yeah. Was it online or
No, actually, I just funny because I just went to like big concerts when I moved into my first big city where I lived. It was Berlin, and here in Germany, and I just went to big shows from like proper headliner bands and stuff, but still like in the hardcore metalcore scene. And then I found out that like a DIY scene exists, and I just went to then like local shows and small shows, DIY shows, and that was when it became more accessible to like do music because obviously all of the people do it DIY.
Mhm.
So yeah, so that was kind of my way getting into it.
Okay. Yeah, it's wild um so you just met people at like a big show. Like what was a show that you can think of that you went to that was like a big show where you like met people that you sort of like got to know better in the DIY scene?
Yeah, it was actually Counterparts 2 years
Okay.
ago.
Okay.
Yeah, very emotional. I always wanted to see them because I was a big fan when I grew up. Um, and yeah, I just and I went alone. I was alone, all alone, because the person I wanted to go with just canceled on me right before, and then I had to go alone because I absolutely wanted to see them. And yeah, then because I myself liked to connect with people that are listening to the same music as me, I just started talking with people, and they were like, "Oh yeah, here, this is the next show, blah blah blah." And then yeah, because at that time I was very new in Berlin, and it's like a big city in Germany, and it's very tough sometimes to connect with people. But I just took the opportunity to talk someone, and then they said, "Yeah, we just can see us at the next show," and then it was a DIY show, and then so on. Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Usually like, you know, we hear a lot of like somebody's cousin or something was in a band or like you knew people from online groups or whatever, but
Yeah.
yeah, the just like you know randomly like sort of stumbling into the whole thing like by actual just like going up to people you don't know and talking to them or
Yeah.
whatever. That's I wouldn't say that I found my way like into DIY as a whole that way, but for sure, just like moving to a new town or something, and just randomly
Hmm.
trying to talk to people like that has worked in my favor in one instance,
Yeah.
and there's an instance that I can think of that it did not work in my favor. The people in that town
Okay.
were very cliquey
Okay.
and rude to me, and you know, I won't,
Oh no.
yeah, I won't go into all that, but you know, but yeah, that's awesome, and like you, so this was like, you know, you're saying you came into this like fairly late, like, and you're sort of having the same idea about like what it's like to be in a band that a lot of people experience, which is like it feels like it's not accessible because you know you have to have all of these prerequisites or whatever, you know, like expensive gear and you know I don't know, like some there's some like sometimes like a almost like a mythical idea of what it takes to create music, you know, that seems like oh, that's not something that we could just do.
Yeah.
But once that fell away, like, were you immediately like trying to join bands, or like, is I Used to Dream in Colors your first project? Were there other projects before that?
Um, so the first project was kind of like a longer process because I was just like telling people at shows that I would really like to be in a band. And then with the time, some bands in our, I would say, local scene was asking me if I want to do live features, like just going on stage and doing a feature part. And since I started doing that for some times, um, I felt like, wow, actually, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Just going on stage and screaming. And then, yeah, with the time, over times, the people came and said, like, hey, that sounded great. And I was just like, does it? I don't know what I'm doing. I just improvised, kind of. I've never did that before, not even at home. Like, I mean, I've been listening to like screamo, hardcore, metalcore, whatsoever for like years and years, but I've never tried it out at home because I'm afraid of my neighbors or whatsoever. And then, yeah, when I just spontaneously started doing it on stage because of bands asking me to do a feature, I just felt like, yeah, okay, that's really nice. And then over time, after going to a lot of shows, I've met one other person that has nothing to do with I Used to Dreams in Colors right now, but that's where we're coming to my first project. And that person was in a band project before, but they didn't was or like they didn't do it anymore because they also just moved to another city. And yeah, we then found out that we're both living in the same city actually. And yeah, he told me he's playing drums. He played in a grindcore band before. And for me, I would have not do a grindcore project. Not that I don't like it, but I think personally I couldn't do it because of the vocals. So yeah, we just said, okay, what if we try and find like a like other people for a hardcore band? And yeah, then I mean we had the drummer, which was good because drummers are a thing that is so rare, I feel like.
Yeah.
And yeah, then me and him, how did we find the other person? Uh yeah, I don't really remember. I think just through scenes and stuff.
Hmm.
And we was kind of like guitarist, drummer, and then me doing vocals. And yeah, then my partner said, hey, I could play bass as well. So we just met and did like for fun, tried out a little bit, and it felt really good. And then that's where Bloodless Conquest was born. That was kind of the first band we did. It was or I mean, it's still going on, but at the moment we're on a break. Um, it was like vegan metalcore, or it turned into vegan metalcore. It was more hardcore-ish, but then yeah, it turned into metalcore.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, very vegan, very political, and yeah, still going on as I said, but at the moment we're on a break.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Did you do recordings for that? Are there recordings online?
nah,
No,
not
not yet.
yet. We need to. We just finished the first songs for like a small EP, and we that's the next plan actually. We need to record the stuff, but unfortunately, at the moment, the drummer is a little bit sick, and that's why we need to do a break. Yeah,
So, what was that like for you, as far as like what like, you said you were getting on stage and just like ad libbing and doing features with other projects, but now you like have your own project where I'm assuming like you're more or less in charge of like the words and and
yeah.
the structures of the vocals and things like that. Like, what was that like for you, as far as like, did did it take you a minute to sort of get up to speed, or did you feel like that came naturally? Like, you're like, I've been waiting for this moment.
Yeah. To be honest, now it feels like when I listen to what we recorded, it feels like I was waiting for that moment to do it
Mm-hmm.
because I used to Dreams in Colors was kind of like a I wouldn't even it wasn't even planned. The thing is, my partner got their friend visited us here in Germany, Dan, which is the drummer, and he came over just to see Samara, so my partner, or hang out. And yeah, then he came here, and we had the practice room still from like Bloodless Conquest, and then we just said like, hey, should we just go into the practice room and just see like jamming around, a little bit of fun. That was it really. And then yeah, we all agreed and just went to the practice room without any like expectations or any plan or anything. And at that time, I did not really feel good, and I was just like telling them, "Hey, can I just be sad?" And then Dan and Samara was stoked. They said, yeah. And Samara just started delivering the riffs, which are incredible. And Dan just, yeah, he could just play on it spontaneously. And we just jammed around a little bit without any like thoughts about it. And then after like, I think 15 minutes or something, we was just like, whoa, that sounds great. Maybe we should keep on going with that. And yeah, so all in all, we spent like the whole day in the practice room, very improvised, but we were all really stoked about it, what came out. I just, I, yeah, I would say I also just improvised with, I mean, I quite like reading and writing stuff in like a poetic way. And I had a lot of texts in my notes app, and I was just like, hey, I'm just gonna try out screaming them and just let my emotions take over how I feel at the moment. And yeah, the other two, they gave me the opportunity to just be fucking sad. And that was it, really. And that was the outcome of the EP we did, which we're so happy about because it is incredible what we did.
Do you- so you're saying that you all recorded those 5 songs the same day?
Yeah, we recorded it the same day.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I didn't know that. I was gonna ask because it does sound like a live recording, and
Yeah.
from the best of my like you know listening knowledge, I don't know how else to put that. It does sound like it's like just drums and vocals and guitars. So like I was like, yeah, this could just sort of like sounds like it was just like a couple mics in the room and so yeah, you just more or less dug into your notes app. You had some writings there, and then you just went through the songs like it's like, okay, they're just jamming, and then it's like, okay, we're gonna do this 5 times, we're gonna do that 3 times, we're gonna do this however many times, and then you get the song, and then you record that song, and then go to the next one. Like how did all of that work as far as like when like how did y'all like, okay, this song is done, like let's do this,
Mm.
or did you more or less come up with 5 songs and then say, hey, we should record these? Like what was that process like?
Mm. Yeah, so it was a bit more, not in like an hour or something.
Oh
We,
yeah, for sure, right.
um, yeah, Samara started playing some riffs and we just listened to it. And then Dan was like, oh, I got an idea. And then he played on it. And then they just kept playing and it just worked out perfect. It sounded great and I really liked it. And then they just played it over and over again. And I was going through my like lyrics I had, and yeah, then we just tried it out. For me, it was a bit complicated because I needed to know like when does, I don't know, the rhythm change, or the flow, the sound whatsoever. But for some reason we then just played it like 2-3 times or something, and then we all said, okay, fuck, that sounds good. And then we did that. Like, we recorded the first song and we listened to it, and yeah, of course, because it's just like a live recording, it did not sound that good. But in the end, we just really liked what we did, and that kept us going. And then, yeah, Samara and Dan said, fuck, that was fun, we need to do another one. And that was the same with the other songs we did. It was just kind of like a trying out. It sounded great, and then we just recorded it.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I don't think that I don't think that it doesn't sound good. I think it sounds really cool. I just think that there's like a thing about it where you can kind of tell what it is, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It says this is what this is, and you can like it or not. And
Yeah,
I think more music should be like that, to be honest.
yeah,
Not like more music should be like your thing, but more
yeah,
music should just be like this doesn't sound produced, recorded,
yeah,
etc., the same way as everything else, and you can either like that or not.
yeah. And the thing is, when I think about that day where we did that, it was the three of us. We were so there was not like a pressure, and like I could imagine when you do a proper recording, we just really all did what we felt, and you can really tell by how it sounds. Like, it just, for me, it is, I think it sounds, because it's so real and not just, you know, it would have been different if we know, okay, now we go to the proper recording studio and then we do it like that and stuff. What we did that day was just so natural and so real, I would say. And that's why me and the other ones are so stoked on it.
Yeah. Now after you've done all that and you've done it this way, like is there a like is there a like are you wanting to in the future, like if that's even come up, like is it like we should stick to this because this worked so well and it became this thing only because of the way we did this? Or is it like kind of like, well, now that we've done it this way, we can try other ways? Like how do you all land or feel about
And
like future recordings based on,
yeah,
that idea?
yeah. So we really want to keep going, and we also already got some like a tour offered. We're gonna tour and we play a festival, and the same with the releases and stuff. We want to do that, and we want to keep doing. And the only sad thing about it is, or like, what means sad? I mean, it's kind of like a long distance band
Right.
because Dan lives in the UK, and me and my partner Samara, we both live in Germany. So it will be a long distance band, which doesn't mean we're not going to do it. We're absolutely so down to do it, but it's going to be a bit more tough. But then I think and that's what we do with the good organization of like the tour, the upcoming one, and then the release and stuff. Yeah, we feel pretty much positive about it, to keep doing it and play shows and release.
was there any discussion as far as like, you know, when you go to write new songs, was it like, was anybody like, well, this worked so well, like we should just do this again, or is it like already you're using that like as a jumping off point where like, well, now we can do anything?
It's more like, I mean, we talked about it as a group afterwards, and we decided that when we do the tour, that we will then record it in like a studio for a proper record. So yeah, that's definitely the plan.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's with me there's always a like when something works that well for me personally, I'm always like I shouldn't I shouldn't mess with that. Like I should stick to this because it worked so well. Like why if it's not broke or whatever, you know? But
Yeah.
then like I always do that. I always like impose limits on myself or like think that like I think like if I give this specific thing this set of rules that it will it will differentiate itself from other things
Mm.
because of those rules. But 5 minutes into the next thing, like I'm always breaking those rules. It's, I mean, I don't know, you know, it's like, but it is awesome that that worked out so well for y'all that first time in one day because especially like I don't know the songs by name, but there's like one of the songs, maybe the fourth song, it's definitely in the second half of the release, where there's like the guitars are just like hitting like two notes and the drums are sort of crashing on these two notes and then there's like a break in between and the vocals
Yeah.
are like dead on with that and like I'm just like for like even if you're like even if everyone is really good just for like doing this like two or three times and then like nailing it on a recording is like really fucking clutch like to just be like da 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 like I mean that's really awesome
Mm.
and it
Thank you.
had to feel
Appreciate
real good too to be like holy shit like we nailed it you know
it. Yeah.
but yeah so like this being like your first recording and like you know it's going to be released by a bunch of labels and everything like
Mm.
that's coming September 26th and the labels are Fragile Records, Spleencore
Yeah.
Records, Oliver Glenn Records, friends of the pod, and Wormwood Records. I'm not familiar with those other three labels but like did you was there like you know you've said already that there weren't a lot of expectations when you went in to the space but like after having the recording and everything like you still probably weren't like oh yeah a bunch of people are gonna make tapes or you know or whatever of this and then like how's that all felt like to for it to be received this way and have this like support and everything.
To be honest, it was quite overwhelming though.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally did not expect that. And I mean, I liked what we did. I loved it. And my partner and Dan too. And when we then got the releases, or like when the labels got back to us and everyone was stoked, we couldn't really believe because we did not expect that big of support and like that sounds great and stuff, which everyone said. So yeah, of course, that made us feel even more proud and more like, ah, fuck, we should keep doing it. To a
Yeah.
point where me and my partner tried to convince Dan that he's coming to Germany and like live here.
Well, yeah, that's probably like, you know, that's probably a tall ask, but I do know that Dan gets around quite a bit. Um
Yeah.
I just maybe it was last year, shipped some buttons and stuff to Dan in Canada when Dan was on tour
Oh,
with one of the projects. But yeah, I it's awesome that like we live in a time now where like we have access to like technology where we can just record something
yeah.
like on the day that we come up with it and can send it to people around the world to hear and
Yeah.
like later they're going to make tapes. It is going to be tapes, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And yeah, I don't know. It's awesome. Like, you know, I'm I'm older than a lot of people that I chat with, so I have a, a completely different experience where it's like my first thing was recorded on like a 4 track on high bias cassette where it's like a 90-minute cassette would only get like 15 minutes worth of music on it because the 4 track spins however many times as fast. Maybe my math is wrong, but it's like a lot less than the and then you would be dubbing your own tapes, and the most people you could ever hope to hear your tape were like the kids at your high school or whatever,
Yeah.
until you like went and tried to go on tour and whatnot. But I don't know, it's wild, like,
Yeah.
and I don't know, there was a bit of like there was a bit of like writing music and stuff for me because of how much effort it took just to get people to
Yeah.
hear your songs, where you would be a lot more precious about it. You would be
Yeah.
like I personally might have been like, oh, sure, we recorded these songs like in one day, but we really gotta like do all of this other stuff to make them ready for people to
Yeah.
hear. And I think like I think that the one argument is that like people will just put out anything now because it's really easy.
Hmm.
And I think that that's
Yeah.
obviously not the case with y'all's release, but like I'm I'm not agreeing with that statement, by the way. Like, I think the possibility is there. Maybe there are some people that are just releasing whatever comes to mind. But I think that what it actually does is it's so freeing, and it just gives us permission to explore things that we wouldn't have explored otherwise. And I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just like a really sorry. That's like a long-winded way of me, like, once again, just being in awe of like the times that we live in, and where we can do something like that, where we can just have our friend come over from another country and make a record, and the next thing you know, you're gonna be going on tour next year, and like it's awesome.
Yeah.
How did
Yeah.
that?
Absolutely.
How did the tour situation come up? Like, I understand if there's not that much you can say about it, like as far as details or anything, but as far as like going from you made this in a rehearsal space, you've got some labels on board, and then it's just like shit, we're going on tour. Like how did those things happen?
Um, the first bit was I couldn't hear it because the connection was lost. But the main question is, do we offer the tour?
Yeah, how did that come together? It was just
Yeah.
another
How did?
band that was like,
Yeah. So how it came together, my partner and Dan, they took care of sending the recordings to some friends to just let them like listen to it and so they can say what they think of it. And because I don't really have the connection, to be honest, to other people other than just friends. And yeah, then they both just sent it around to a few people, and yeah, these people actually was really, really into it. And some of them, like one of them offered us a show in London. And yeah, we then out of that decided to like build a tour around and hang out and maybe record the stuff at the same time. So it was more of, yeah, that way where we've got offered the show and then it was like, oh, okay, maybe we can try and see if we do a small tour and also use the opportunity to record the stuff we did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like, you know, even like I'm not sure what that all entails, like as far as like going from like Berlin to London for a show, but you wouldn't want to just do that for like one thing necessarily,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
it's a bigger deal than how is that with like how is that as far as like going to London for this? Like, how's that as far as like it's very tricky, I think, for bands from like the States or whatever to like go to the UK to do certain things. Like, was it is there a lot of red tape and stuff for you all, or is it are we sort of doing certain things under the radar, as it were? Or
No, we just do it like a holiday and we just don't bring anything like
right,
equipment and stuff. And then, yeah, we just use the equipment in the UK. That's the plan as far as I know
right,
with the
right.
other.
Yeah, that's I think that's the way that most people try to do it as well. Um, we never had any problems when we were coming over into other parts in Europe, but we never went to the UK specifically because I just heard
Mm,
that it was a lot of trouble for people from the
mm,
States for whatever reason, and that you know. But yeah, I always wanted to. I don't know. There's a couple things that I really like, sort of like, oh, I'd love to tour the UK before I'm done touring or whatever, and I'd love to
yeah,
tour Southeast Asia and Japan. Those are
yeah,
just like dreams of mine.
yeah.
But who knows? Maybe it'll happen. Maybe it won't. But yeah, like I don't know. It sounds like this is all kind of like been a whirlwind for you, and in like probably the best way possible. How is it like how does it feel where like you're gonna have this out next month, but
Yeah.
you have to wait like 5 more months to start playing these songs again? Like, are you planning like on practicing before that or anything like that, or
I'm shitting my pants. So I hope. I mean, I've listened to the songs almost every day because on the first, I very much like them, and also because, yeah, as I said before, it was more of like a one day thing.
mm-hmm.
But the plan is that having we have time to as well practice them before again. I mean, Dan doesn't need practice. He's the beast when it comes to drums. But no, I think we just make time to practice them before to just. I think uh, it just would be good to practice them before. Yeah, so we would make time for that before we actually go on stage.
Yeah, yeah. As far as like as far as your lyrics and stuff, do you did you while you were recording them, were you like refining them like as you were going, or is there an aspect to you listening now where you're looking through your lyrics and be like, oh, that's what I said here? Like, how much of what you were doing was improvised
Yeah.
And how much do you have to like figure out like this is what I
Yeah.
said that like does that make sense? Like is there an
Yeah,
aspect
of
to that
course.
where you're like, oh, what was I singing right here?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, to be honest, all of the songs are fine, but one song
Yeah.
is complicated for me because I have for almost every song I have the lyrics pretty much, and like I remember and I know what I said and I can sing it again the same way I did it before. But with one song, I'm very stuck and I keep listening to it because that was one of the songs where I struggled a little bit, and yeah, I mean, I told the other two, like, with that song, I'm really struggling to, like, really remember what I said or in, like, to figure it out because I really pretty much freestyled with that song. So, yeah, that one is a bit complicated. But besides of that, the other ones, I'm fine with them.
Yeah. So it's like you had all so say you had these like lines in your notes or whatever, and then when you figured out how they fit in the song, then you sort of
Yeah,
refined them as you were going. But there's this other one where you were like just ad-libbing a lot, and so now
yeah.
you possibly have to, you're like, well, I ought to write words that fit that, or are you just like, I just need to memorize how, sort of more or less how it goes, or like where
Mm.
do you, what's the plan that you have for like making
Yeah,
these things, you know, like these two worlds come together or whatever.
yeah. So the plan is because I can understand what I said most of the time in the song.
Mm-hmm.
So for now, I've told the other two that I'm struggling with that song, and then they just got me. They just said just improvise,
Mm-hmm.
but then I'm pretty much of a like very much like a perfectionist, and I really struggle if I don't feel like I'm doing this good. But that is my inner fight. So I keep listening to that song and I understand the words I'm saying. But then because I improvised so much, I'm like, fuck, that would just sound stupid if I would keep saying the same words over and over again. But then I mean, what happened that day in that practice room was something like for us and me, something very special and so emotional. So I don't feel bad, to be honest, just doing it the same way I did it in the practice room because the emotions are taken over. I
Mm-hmm.
could really just feel like the emotions are writing the song and not my lyrics, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's, there's a, there's a thing sometimes where it's like I'll have like all of this stuff like well thought out or planned out or whatever, and then like I'll just, I'll more or less like let loose, and I'll tell myself like, well, I'll come back to that. I'll listen through that for what it was, and then I'll see if I can make a structure for that lyrically is more cohesive to the rest of the song, or you know like makes more sense or whatever. And
Yeah.
then like I I might do that, and I'll sing what I wrote down as opposed
Mm.
to this other thing that I was sort of like ad-libbing, that I was sort of just going off the cuff. And I'll sing what I wrote down, and I'm like, I don't know. Like it just doesn't work. Like it doesn't.
Mm.
And I don't know. I'll be honest. In those cases, like I might write down the words that I wrote later, and they are not the words that I was actually singing, and I don't care.
Mm.
Like that's my
Yeah.
business.
Fair. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I do understand what you mean, where it's like 100%, where you're just like, this was something inside me speaking through me. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not saying it was like divine intervention, from like the muse or whatever, but this is some other part of me that was trying to come out that like I'm
Yeah.
not gonna alter that now because it felt right in the time and it
Yeah.
felt right to yeah. But that is, it is interesting to like sort of have
Absolutely.
to have to think about that like in both ways where where you're like you were saying you're like shit I don't like that feels this way
Yeah.
now but it felt right then and so I don't know you just like come to terms with it however you do
Yeah.
but yeah I it's it's been real fun like chatting with you about this and like learning how this project came together and like where it's all headed and everything like that. Do you plan on trying to write more songs before you record or are you just recording these songs again like you know in like a proper studio and
Mhm.
like what's the plan for that? Are you trying to release like on like a 7 inch or I'm not actually even sure like if it would fit on a 7 inch, but what's the plans for the recording at that point?
Yeah. So we want to do more songs, and I mean for that specifically, since I can fully be myself lyrical wise with that, I have a lot. And Samara's great at writing riffs, and Dan is great in playing drums. So we're open to do more and write more songs. And but like with no pressure. If it works, then yeah, and if it doesn't work, then no. And like in that short amount of time till next year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to whatever comes of that. It's I guess this version will have to tide people over for the. I mean, it's not really. It feels like it's a lot further away than it is. I guess like it's only
Yeah.
for 4 months from now. It feels like it's
Yeah.
forever. You're like, oh, next year. Like it's not over halfway through the year already. But
Yeah.
yeah. Like it's been nice chatting with you and getting to hear about all this. Is there anything that we should chat about that we didn't get around to?
Uh, I think I cannot remember something, to be honest. Oh, there's gonna be CDs as well.
Oh, CDs? Is it the same labels involved, or is it someone else doing the CDs?
Yeah, Oliver Glenn is doing it.
Oh, Olive Glen's doing the CDs. Are they also doing tapes or just the CDs?
No, just the CDs.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
it's like Canada and France and UK that will have tapes available, but then US is CDs only.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Very cool. And I'm assuming that y'all will have some of that stuff with you on tour. Is each label doing like are y'all doing like specialized like for each label or is it just sort of like everybody's getting the same thing and it doesn't matter who you order from, like just order from whoever's closest to you.
Yeah, yeah. No, it will be specialized
Oh,
to
okay.
every
So,
label.
oh, that's really cool. Um,
Yeah.
and is there anything you can give away about the packaging? Like, is it going to be like, there's screen printing, there's envelopes, there's whatever, or is it just like everybody will have their own thing and you'll find out about it later?
Yeah, you need to find out, I guess.
Okay. Awesome.
We just want to keep it till it's out.
And that was my conversation with Kiki. Thank you so much, Kiki, for taking the time to chat with me. Make sure y'all stay tuned September 26th for the release of their debut EP. I guess that's about all for now, but I want to thank y'all for listening wherever you are. And until next time, take care and do good things.